You've heard me talk before about maintaining a farming schedule, and I talked a little bit about the idea of keeping your account balanced as you play. You don't want it to get too lopsided. If you remember in my video about the rune optimizer, I had way less rage runes than I did other stuff from like dragon and giants. So it's important that you balance your farming. And it occurred to me, it's kind of obvious when you really look it in the face, but if you're not looking for it, maybe it's easy to overlook. But there's a built-in farming schedule in this game, and it's in your missions. You only have to do so many of the missions that it gives you every day. You always have leftover missions that you can come in and do if you want to, and they alternate. So there's every day you'll have a different Awakening Essence dungeon, a different Kairos dungeon, and a different Rift Beast every day of the week. It cycles through them. So if you will let this dictate what you do for the day, you'll be in good shape. My recommendation would be for the Essence dungeon, just hit it with a 10 repeat battle. Over time, you'll probably out-farm the essences you're using because you still have to make food and stuff to build. I would just hit this with 1 or 2, unless you desperately need them. Then you could double it up, triple it up, whatever. But what I tend to do is just drop 1 10 repeat battle a day in the essence dungeon of the day. And then for the Rift Beast as well, I at least get my 10 battle in because I at least want to have enough every week to get my... Where are they? Is it in other or special? It's in special. I at least want to be able to afford my reappraisal stones every week. Even if you're not using these yet, you want to go ahead and start piling up. I have 62 right now, which sounds like a lot. They'll go real quick. When I start using these, they'll go real quick. I've used a few already on the account, but I at least want to buy those every week. And then also that'll leave me with a little bit left over time so that I'm just kind of piling up these what are they called, crystals, over time. And then the last one, the one that gives you a 6-star rune, which you should be going for every day anyway. A lot of the time it'll probably be a crappy rune, but every now and then you'll sneak something really nice in there. So you should at least be getting this every day. But what I do, again, and I want to give a quick caveat, this is something to think about a little bit later in the game, as you're kind of settling into the mid game. I'd say when you're comfortably mid game. When you're early game, you're kind of in this phase where, like, once you get your GB12 team rolling, you need to hit GB12 for a while. You need to very quickly increase the stock of like Swift and Despair and Blade and some of the, I mean, a lot of the sets are good. And then same thing with Dragon. You use those runes to work on your Dragon team, and when you get your Dragon team rolling, you hit Dragon kind of hard for a little while so that you get a nice pool of Violent runes and other things to use at your disposal. But when you've got all your teams sorted, like for example, I'll show you real quickly. I always forget profile. Let's take a look at where I'm at. And again, this will be for roughly if you're around where I am, okay? So GB12, Dragon 12, Necrotail 12. I've got teams to farm the last stage in all of these dungeons. I have triple S on all my Rift Beasts. I have not really started messing around in the Dimension dungeons yet. But that's basically it, okay? Once all of your teams are established, you can farm all the dungeons. You're getting to a point where you can start to build some things that aren't mandatory for PvE progress. You've got some stuff to aid. I think clearing Dimensional Predator or whatever he's called is going to vary depending. I just used... There's a very popular team for it. It's this. I think this is the one I used. That'll vary depending on what you've been working on and what kind of runes you've got, but like roughly if you're in the same space as I am, now you can start to think about kind of following the schedule every day, and this will keep you balanced as you go on, and it'll get to a point where it just kind of becomes automatic. You won't even have to think about it, and this way you don't have to keep a spreadsheet or a calendar or anything external. You just log into the game and do what it has you do. They've put this in place, I suspect, to kind of balance you out a little bit. So like I said, I would drop a couple of 110 repeat, more if you need more into the Essence Dungeon. Same thing with the Rift, unless you wanted to hit Rift a little bit harder. And then just spend that day unloading energy into whatever dungeon was the dungeon of the day here. Get your rune for sure at least, but then just live in that dungeon for the day. And then tomorrow, maybe it'll be Necro, and you farm Necro all day. And then the next day, it'll be Steel Fortress, and you farm Steel Fortress all day. You know what I mean? But this way, you don't get too lopsided as you go on, because it can be very easy to just forget and just kind of live in Dragon forever, which in some ways is going to be really great, but in other ways, you're going to find yourself hurting for Swift runes and Rage runes and some of the other runes that are very important as you progress later in the game. So I just thought this was kind of interesting. Figured I would share it with you guys, because I have been asked a few times about where should I be farming and when, and is there any kind of schedule or anything like that. So that's kind of what I'm using at this point, and thought it was worth sharing with you guys. So I hope it was helpful. Maybe it opens up a few eyes, and that's it. I'm going to get out of here. If you have any other tips for keeping your account balance that you'd like to drop below, go for it. Appreciate y'all, and we'll see you later.